We're going to cycle through many different self-enhancement techniques, meaning spiritual enhancement techniques, meaning come to an agreement within ourselves with the heavens that there's nothing wrong with us, that whenever we're alone and we're unhappy, we're in bad company. And that means we have one of our sub-personalities is being attacked or enjoying the pleasure of something less than God, less than you, less than what's good or safe for your family and friends. To begin with, we'll discuss all the many different techniques around the world for meditation, for prayer, for reflection, for recollecting all the good that you have. I have a friend who puts a crystal for everything that's right in his life. And so there are so many different ways of doing it. My buddy Tim goes to church at 5 o'clock every morning, and whatever it is for anyone. These are the beginning of the early methods you might use to clear your own path, which is what we're talking about. In the beginning, we have to know that we're all spiritual agents of something beyond the whole world. All Eastern or mystical traditions around the world have always declared the world to be an illusion, at most a way station through eternity. In every culture in the world, you're aware that in some cultures you might have masks for you in old Rome, you'd have for your predecessors, for your granddad, your grandmom. You have that sentiment in the house. It's a sense. It's there. And as you get older, every human being in the world realizes that that's what's of value. Not a thing, not a place, not a name, nothing. Just this openness to an aperture to something higher, better, cleaner, truer. Myself being spiritual, I've never not experienced it every moment of my life since birth, and before birth, and before birth, and before birth, and after time. And I'm saying that for me, which would be saying it for all spiritual people in the world, whether they're 1 in 8 people, or 4 in 100, or 98 in 100, and the rest we're just kind of confused. The point is, there are ways out of this. You have to sanctify your home, whatever that might be. I've done this all over the world in the most horrible conditions. Growing up in South Philly, I talked one time about I would sit between garbage cans on 11th and Locust Street because no one would see you, and you don't want to let people know that this is what you're just simply in prayer. And not in prayer. I've never been in prayer. It's just is. It's so nice. And the more you're around the clamor of the everyday, the buildings, the work, the more real it all becomes. And there's nothing real but the heart, the soul, and your kindness. Kindness is the first step away from this. And I'm not talking about being nice. I'm talking about kindness. It's a very powerful place. All the great people in the world that have achieved something of real worth are valuable to all the people around them. They give of themselves all the time. They're always teaching. They're always moving everything to a higher plateau. Always. They're always working to lift those around them. As has been said, that the high tide lifts all boats. So my buddy Greg helps dozens of people every day in the deepest way, and he's always in new time. So if he's helping this person, and the next person comes along, he'll end that, and it'll be giving the new person completely present. I've worked on many different methods of bringing people into real time, into new time. That makes sense? Present time. When I work with people like combat veterans years ago and daily here, I'm simply very quiet, and I'm in present time, and I let them get out their case, and I listen, I acknowledge. And they're in a safe harbor, spiritually speaking. And so you can say things that you simply cannot say to anyone else if you've been involved in something of that horrible nature. And yet it's no different. If you're running a family, you got a couple of kids, your husband's coming home, or wife's late from whatever, and you're like, you got responsibilities around the house. It's the same thing. You'll have the same psychic emotion. You could come into the same like fixed states of pain, of fear, of dread. You're afraid your husband might be out doing something, whatever. And it's no different that than combat, how it affects you. So if you get very quiet, very deep in your stance, like Master G here would teach you, then that's the whole idea of Chan Buddhism, which is Zen Buddhism, which started 1,600 years ago at the Shaolin Temple in Bodhidharma, who learned that all he had to do was sit quietly, let your whole sensorial field fall to the base of the abdomen, the heart, and all your emotions are quieted instantly. And then after that, this is your entirety of existence. You quiet the senses, the emotions, down here, and you concentrate being there for a while, and you're very stable, and you can't even be pushed. It's kind of interesting. And then the thinking mind, you place 18 inches in the floor in front of you, and your entire relationship to this world is gone. So all the things I'm saying about mysticism and God, that's all you have to do to see it's real. You disconnect from the earth. It's like being on one of those revolving space stations, and you have this the cord with your oxygen or whatever, and your electronics to the space station. If you cut off both of them, then you free fall into space. And space, once you're out there, it isn't up and down and in and out, and I went to the game and I'm going to get up Monday. It's like there's no direction. There's no place or time. It's just according to what you make it. And with the human sensory equipment, if you quiet the thinking mind, the sensorial field, no one's home. It's very sweet, very nice, and that's your instant proof. That's your E equals MC squared of spirituality, of mysticism, and saying that the world is an illusion. Practice those two things a few minutes. And that's all you'll need. Thank you. Now, an addendum will add to that in so many ways. If you're listening to people, you have to be in present time. So you're outside of yourself, and you're here for other people. Once you have this illumination experience, you're here for others. And it's a very, very serious business. Because you know, until everyone in the world that's spiritual is in this place, there'll be pain, there'll be trauma, there'll be cause and effect, emotionally and psychically. And once enough people take this step away from the whole thing, it will dissipate, disappear. You don't need a sledgehammer to do it. You need a kind heart and a gentle word from a powerful soul, which is your soul. And you're in touch with it the moment you quiet yourself. Again, these two sense organs, thinking mind, sensorial field, emotions, boom. And then the rest is gravy. It's beautiful. You'll learn so many things. It's such a thrill to be spiritual. It's such a thrill to be you. It's you. This condition isn't for Jesus Christ, Gautama Buddha, the great saints we're all about, that we're all aware of. It's all yours. Disconnect from the bonds up to earth, and eternity is yours. And then when you do go home and you have time, 10 minutes, 10 hours to sit alone, you'll be very happy. You will have unending visitations of a kind and degree of purity and beauty that are just thrilling. And you'll see all the good people you know as they are. They're luminous. They're magnificent. And it's an infinitesimal part of our consciousness that's incarnate here. Understand what was just said? So you'll have gifts and powers. You'll have abilities that are transcendent of the whole world. Anyone can be psychic. I have many friends that are clairvoyant to things in the world, and that's not clairvoyant. Psychic, it's the easiest thing in the world. It's something I will never do. It'd be like looking in someone's bathroom window. It'd just give me the creeps. Yes, I can read someone's mind, but it's like, that's the opposite of decency, spirituality, religion. It's the opposite of everything right and true and good. Always investigating, always, that's the opposite. That's one half of Satan is that, and then the other half is accusing, and you're just questioning. There is no questioning or accusing. And when you live in this open space, no questions, no accusation, then you'll just have these gifts flowing to you. And some days are very difficult. I'm here helping these guys, and my friend here, Jessica, helped run this business, and it's very complex. Couple thousand members. You've got endless relationships. You have tremendous professional endeavors going on all the time. So I'm just flowing through to help here and there. And some days you have 3 or 4 people at each other that are, and they're all wrong. But you have to work with this one and that one and wait, and so it can be very painful. I'm simply saying that when you have this sense of eternity and timelessness, and I know that I can maybe fix this one in 2 or 3 weeks until I get the right moment, because I never force anything. It has to like fall into place. I'm saying these words, it'll make sense to you, and it makes sense to all of in our heart and soul of how we're dealing with our family, our friends, our workplaces. Already is the way it is. What has just been said, that we're waiting for this one and that one, and the ones that are worth it you're waiting for. And the ones that aren't, you will find ways to deflect their presence from who you are. And at some point in your life, I am the most non-violent person in the world. Every now and then there's something where I'll do a little something which might be months apart, and I'll slam someone in a needed way. But I rarely do it. Early on, you'll do it here and there because you're angry, and that's the Satan, and you're attacking this. But no, if you just look right through it, it's gone. The devil fears one righteous person more than 1,000 blind believers. So we sit quietly, we ingratiate ourselves to the higher purpose and presence of life. You'll feel your mom flowing through, a friend from high school, someone you love and loves you, and yet life doesn't make it that way. And then you'll see that all your loves and lovers are part of something so wonderful. And you respect their individual soul. There is no jealousy, there is no want or need or desire in this higher awareness. This higher awareness is you. Disconnect from the bonds of earth. And I say you, and I'm talking about loves and lovers. It's not, I talked about being in space. It's like that. It's infinite. It doesn't end. There's no beginning, and it has nothing to do with the sensory equipment we have in this world, which is the devil. And if we cut them off, then you'll have plenty of time to fix your friends and neighbors that you love, to correct things, to understand things, to have new endeavors. And you just sit quietly. So many times you're just home, and all of a sudden I'm back in my lazy boy and I can't move, and it's 10 hours later or 10 minutes, and something glorious fills me, and I accomplish whatever the next thing is. It's never not been that way. I remember one time spending 2 full months in that condition on a couch. With my buddies, one time I had a place, it was first in Redwood City, a friend of mine, she was a clairvoyant and had pains. Anyway, so I had these 3 lamas I've been in touch with different ones, and came to my home and sat, and they were there. 3 days on and off we were there, and then sure enough, after they left for weeks on end, my friend Lynn would come by now and then, and they were still sitting there. They were like golden images, like lighter than air. When I saw Lama Lodro in the city, when we saw each other, he was like that. There was a wedding for his daughter or something, and we just looked at each other across the room, and it just disappeared in the golden light. I'm saying people who are adept at meditation or have these experiences all the time, and you really can't discuss them with people, and you can't just bring them up like, isn't that interesting and exciting? It can only come up for people who are in present time. And they want to hear this, they want to know this, they want to experience this. There is absolutely nothing you can understand, nothing you can achieve with this higher sense of reality. Sorry, we had a motorbike out front here, so discontinued for a moment. And that's interesting, because a young man who works here, he's a very handsome young man, bodybuilding all the time and working, a nice kid, but his entire identity are what's called the outward signs. Personality, ego, who am I, how do people relate to me? And that's the opposite of all the spiritual people I know who are very, very, very powerful. My buddy Andre came in here just a moment ago, and he's one of those UFC fighters, Andre Sukumta. And just a beautiful, quiet heart. You'll never see him when he's in a room. And because he is adept at meditation, at spirituality, besides being strong. So the idea of spirituality is to disconnect from the world, is to not be here, not be anywhere. Not know anything, see anything, hear anything. The breathing, sensorial field, follow your inhalation down to the base of the abdomen. Be aware of the abdominal walls expanding and releasing with each inhalation, exhalation, right? And you'll feel very quiet. Bodhidharma, who first developed this 1,600 years ago, stared at the wall for 8 years. Now, I can sit and look at something for an hour if I want, but I don't want, but there has been times I've done it, and you'll find that after 35 minutes, you'll turn inside out. There are no conceivable words that I can begin to say. Everything disappears. And it's just a wonderful place. You're in that place called heaven. Your true abode, your true home, your true place. All of us that are here are a volunteer army. We're heaven's heroes. We're incarnating in this hell. The world is hell. To dispel the darkness. We're just going to turn the stage lights on and say, hey, look at the real stars. The angels, the Mother of God, the Sisters of Eternity, the Fathers of Light. You are a heavenly creature. When anything comes your way, know that it's temporary and it's just for you to figure it out. And at a certain point, all the little instances that happen, you'll discover yourself in God's cerebral cortex. You'll see that every conceivable moment of your life, every breath you've taken, God has been here with you and trying to help maneuver you through. God, but is yourself also. God is yourself. You'll see it. Every moment, every conceivable thought, aspiration, memory, dream, reflection is like, it's all like you've directed it somehow to have as much understanding as you could at this point, so you could overcome the whole thing and tear down the walls of Jericho. There's nothing wrong with you. You're whole and complete. You're a divine presence. You're good. The world is a hell that's here just to tempt you. And being a spiritual being, I'm being absolutely honest, it's a trillion, billion times more than anyone's ever dreamt it is, what spirituality is. So we're very gentle to present it because it's not a big emotional, it's just glorious and it's here every moment. So the meditation process is to quiet you down So you're not reacting to this set of senses. Like I said, the psychic, and anyone can be psychic, sensing this and that about each other and all, that's creepy. But to get quiet to the whole world, and then be aware of this. You are this. You are what God is. It's unimaginable. Goodness, purity, kindness, truth, wisdom, and it's none of the human senses or thoughts or feelings, except for these divine premonitions we've had in our life, count here. It's wondrous. So don't take it all too serious. Step away. You might be a little lonely in the beginning, and I get lonely from time to time, but each time I'm lonely, it's because I run out to be near someone, do this, do that, that's the right contact for me to make, because I can sit alone all day and be non-compass mentis, not even here. I'm not even aware of it. And I'm speaking, when I say for Robert, I mean for all of us around the world. My friend Baba Bedi, my many, many, many teachers are here. In that moment, I sense everyone I know. Endless presences. But it's like, it's not like filling a room with it. It's just lighter than air, kinder than daylight, sweeter than a morning swim. It's just very nice. And all you have to do is turn on these higher senses. If you drop if you have a little boy and a little daughter, and she's 18 months, and you put her in the water, she'll all of a sudden have this amphibious instinct, whatever you call it, is like, and they'll learn how to swim. They go in the water. When you ever splash water in your face, and you're brushing your teeth, and you splash water in your face, you wake right up. It's that sense, amphibian, whatever you want to call it, and your breathing changes and so forth. This higher sense, all you have to sit quietly, pray, light a candle, light some incense. Think of your grandmom, your mother, and for all of us. And imagine someone who loved us that much. Again, your mom has her case. She lived through hell around and for us, and had to absorb it like Greg here. He knows everyone's problems, and no one else ever hears them. He stops it when someone complains about that my son's in jail, am I this, that, or my daughter, or my aunt's dying of cancer, and he listens, and he has people come to him. He's a master martial arts teacher for 50 years, so people come here from all over the world from time to time and thank him, because when you have someone who taught you a spiritual discipline of any kind, he's always Master G, or call him Mr. Escolta, but it's quite wonderful to have a teacher. Teach you right from wrong and inspire you. Mine has been my mom, my dad, and my God that I've been aware of completely and absolutely and totally since one afternoon with my buddy Dr. John Buckspace. And he's written books about Zen. And he's in Los Angeles, and he's a remarkable Zen teacher, and we see each other about twice in 50 years. Or my friend Edward Wilkinson was with us. We built the World Zen Center with Dr. Sho from Korea, and we just see each other. It's like all these years never happened. We're there, and it's a soft, easy smile, and we keep going on. With John, when I first saw him speak at a place that I rebuilt, and he came in, he said, "Who did this?" I made something so beautiful, a venue, so beautiful. It's the most beautiful spiritual venue in the country, and it was acclaimed as that. And he walked in, and I saw, that's John, because I saw in the window he was going to speak there, and he was at the counter doing something, and then he said, "This is beautiful. Who did this?" And I said, "It was you, John." He was sitting right next to me. It was like perfect. After 35 years not seeing him. 40 years, 50? Well, 50, and more than 50. And turned around, and I smiled, and I said, "Robert, and he said, "Oh, Robert, North Broad Street." That was where we had our homes there and went to school. And then we went in the back, and he gave his little talk about his new book, I think. meditation in plain English, or Zen meditation in plain English, John Buck's meditation. Anyway, and he sat there, and while the whole class is going on, these people, and you can see him, I'm sitting over here, he's there, and it's just as literally like Niagara Falls, like waterfall of divine presence between us. And we never said anything about it, never looked at each other, just, and while he's giving the class, this is happening. It's a tradition. Or I'll see Greg's master teacher with us all the time, and great Grandmaster Ralph Castro, and he's always with him. I always see him every now and then. Just before he passed, he'd call Greg in the afternoon. We're out having lunch and give him some more advice about his martial arts. And there are many, many teachers, and we all have a lineage. My grandma, my mom, my family, they're always here. My buddy is like my grandmom. And we all have this. So if we quiet ourselves in the everyday, turn it off, shut it down, you'll have endless gifts and wonders. Like I say, memories, dreams, and reflections of a sweeter time. Not often the distance at the end of time, but timeless. You are a remarkable presence. You came into the world to end all the pain for all the ones you love and care for. I am confident you'll fulfill your divine mission. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sculptor.